like Joy Reid's stint is not over just yet, right? She is participating in this tour, or at least this part of the tour, with Ta-Nehisi Coates. Ta-Nehisi Coates is traveling to discuss his book, The Message. And we've talked about his book on the show before, after his experience of going to Gaza and seeing this for himself. There's a couple of things that were revealed during this discussion that I do want to get into. And so I say what's done in the dark comes to light. I think you guys need to hear this. And also shout out to the person who sent me this conversation, because I didn't know about this. Talks about the election. Listen to what they say about the election. I think this is the first part. Listen.
The election, because now that we've done the palate cleanser and talked about Queen Bee, this election, I think for a lot of people, was a surprise that shouldn't have been a surprise. I know it was for me. I think I had allowed myself the 107-day delusion that it was possible for this incredible, Black and Asian woman to win. And then you were sort of snapped into reality on November 5th. Were you as deluded as I was going in, and what is your reaction to the result?
I mean, I don't know if I was deluded. I thought she was gonna win. I did think she was gonna win. I don't know. I think I'm probably not the best person to ask. And I'll just talk about my perspective on this. And it comes from a couple places. Joy, we saw each other out at the DNC. So I personally, and I'm sorry, guys, this is going to probably upset a few of you. And I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings here. I'm really not. But look, I personally watched them march out and run on the legacy of Jesse Jackson's 2 presidential runs. Jesse Jackson in '88 was the last person that allowed an Arab American to address the DNC. There hasn't been one since then. It was the last time Palestinian rights were addressed. I watched them run on the legacy of Shirley Chisholm. It had been, 60 years since Fannie Lou Hamer had been excluded?
Yeah.
I watched them run on that. And then I stood outside and watched them exclude a group of people,
So Ta-Nehisi Coates is referencing the DNC convention in 2024, when they would not allow a Palestinian American to speak on the stage. And apparently I didn't know this until he brought this up, and I looked into it for myself. I didn't know that the last time an Arab American apparently was allowed to speak at the DNC convention was Jesse Jackson's presidential campaign. So the Democratic Party basically has actively been discriminating against Arab Americans, I guess, after that Jesse Jackson campaign. So this has been going on for quite some time. So listen to what he says here.
And look, the numbers probably do not add up to, the notion that this is what cost her the vote. But I do think, you have to think about the soul of the party. And I think you have to think about, forget the party, I think you have to think about the soul of your movement. And I just wonder what it means when you are so afraid or indifferent, or I don't know what it is, I don't want to attribute motives, but whatever it is, that you, who could not have been this party's nominee in 1964, right, cannot bring yourself to oppose dropping bombs on children in defense of apartheid.
That part right there, and I think that this is the comment I think that you should pass on to people who are saying, well, we told you guys you should have voted for Kamala instead. No, when you are the candidate, it is your job to convince the voters why they should vote for you. And you're supposed to explain to them what you're going to do differently. At least nowadays, people want to know what you're going to do differently, right? And she made it very clear that she wouldn't be different. So I think what is happening is a lot of people are pointing fingers at the voters instead of pointing fingers at Kamala Harris, because Kamala Harris is nowhere to be found. For all the people who said, where's Jill Stein? And Jill Stein has been doing a number of things. They're now on this tour with Butch Ware to help him with his governor campaign of California. She also participated in the Workers Strike Back event a couple weeks ago that we covered as well. People asking, where's Jill Stein? Where the fuck is Kamala Harris? So you see, because they can't point their fingers at her, it's like they're pointing their fingers at other people. It's like you're really kind of mad at Kamala, but you want to be mad at us because you ain't got nobody, because she can't be in front of you and she's not going to respond to you and you have no access to her. So you're going to point your fingers at other people. And I think Ta-Nehisi Coates is correct. Like the fact that you, as someone who knows what it is like to be looked at as other and discriminated against and, going through the hardships just because of your skin color, you of all people, how can you say the Israelis can come speak, but you cannot come speak? You see, that's the control that Israel has on the government in the United States. Isn't that crazy? It's really crazy when you think about it. Wild.
Like maybe I would have swung the election, maybe it wouldn't. I'm not saying it wouldn't. Like I'm not, oh, you lost because of Gaza. I'm not saying that. But I don't think all manners of loss are the same. We can't control how, like what happens. Like to some extent, this is not up to us. I think about my life like this, right? Like I think about, okay, how do I want to lose? Don't let me lose defending genocide. Like I just don't want to lose that way. You know what I mean? Like if the American people reject me because I said I can't get behind this dude who is an enemy of democracy, an enemy of human rights, is taking American bombs and with American fighter jets and dropping them on hospitals and schools. I can't get behind it, and I lose on that. I mean, I can sleep at night. I wish I had won, but I can sleep at night. I'm also not in politics. So, I mean, maybe people's moral calculus is different, but there is a part of me, man, that obviously, I wish he won. I think a lot of people are gonna get hurt. Because of the fact, I just want to be clear about that. I don't think it's better that she lost. I think a lot of vulnerable people are going to be really, really hurt. I wish the class of people who are the leaders of this party had more courage.
And then she probably may not have lost. See, this is another thing to reflect on. If Kamala Harris would have taken a different position, let's say she did take that position and say, no, I'm going to stop this war, this immediately. What Israel's doing is wrong. Let's say she did take that position, right? And then let's say she did have an actual working class agenda. Let's say that she came out there and she said, Black Americans are owed reparations. It's a debt that's owed. We need to get that happening. Maybe she did do those things. Who knows? Maybe things would have been different. But she didn't. And she thought it was more important to hang out with Liz Cheney. Talking about not meeting the moment, right? Yeah.
And I think, and forgive me, I don't mean to extend this, but I think about two things, okay? I think about the fact that it was 20 years ago that Barack Obama really began his ascent, right? It's our first Black president. And people forget this. But a Barack Obama who supported the Iraq war would never have been president. Like, this movement started there. Like, it actually started, like, you got a lot of people who, will run the numbers, this and that, try to predict things. But there was a moral core to what he was doing that got people excited. And how we ended up here, when we are effectively supporting the destruction of Gaza under the Orwellian language of self-defense, I don't know. And so, you say, well, Ta-Nehisi, you're not, really accounting for the very real, and hard work of politics. And I say, okay, but let's take a second. And let's think about this party since 1992. You lost affirmative action. You lost a woman's right to choose. Labor is under siege. You have lost the environment. Public schools are, effectively taken as, playgrounds for the private. You lost campaign finance reform. You lost the Supreme Court. You may lose Obamacare, which itself was a conservative compromise.
That's right.
What did this get? What did you win? Like, what did all of this strategizing and all of this, deep knowledge about, what did you ultimately win? And so when you start looking at it like that, and then you see the same people who have led you to this loss, Bill Clinton being deployed to Michigan, to do what? Liz Cheney, who has, she showed great courage, but has a constituency of 0, apparently. What are we doing here? So you don't have the tactics, you don't have the strategy, you don't have the morals. So what do we have then? It's dark. I mean, it's not like these people take immoral positions and then win. They don't.
No. I mean, it's one of those things where people would have appreciated you fighting even if you lost, because people would have said, well, damn, they tried. You know what I mean? People would have saw like, well, she fought for the people. And it's just like he's right. And this is what I've said before, like the Democratic Party has just lost so much. It's like you went from we're the party of the working class to screw those workers. There's another part of this conversation that I want to get to as well, and I thought was pretty interesting. This part here about the people who are blaming those who did not support Kamala Harris. I want you to hear what he said about the genocide. Listen to this.
I suspect if I talk to those freedom fighters today, they would say, I did it because it was wrong. Right. I didn't do it on some, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Right. I did it because it was wrong. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Like the solidarity has to be rooted in a deep moral principle. This is not a gang alliance, man. You know what I mean? This is about principle. And it's like, it is nothing. Nothing in the world these people could do to me. And I'm talking about the Palestinians that would make me say what I saw over there was correct. Yeah. And that it is somehow it's sickening. It's like, what you are effectively saying is you have no problem with your tax dollars going to bomb hospitals and schools because they didn't vote with you? I don't take you serious. I'm sorry, I'm getting upset about it, but I don't take you seriously. Yeah. Like me and you need to not have a conversation because you were never part of this. Yeah. You like that is, as far as I'm concerned, that is addition by subtraction. These are not people you want with you because they are not principled. They don't have real principles.
And that's exactly what some of us were saying, right? Like you can't shame these people. Especially what was weird to me is I saw people, after Kamala lost, and they were saying like I'm talking about liberals wishing death upon Palestinian people. And just like that, you were able to see just how regular MAGA can compare to like blue MAGA, right? All of a sudden, people were able to see just how hateful blue MAGA could be. Like literally saw people who have been Democrats for ever, wishing death upon the Palestinian people, telling them, I hope you get deported. I hope you all of you just end up blowing up. Like it was disgusting, but not surprising. If you've lived in like blue areas with these liberal enclaves where like a lot of people, in Massachusetts, a lot of liberals around here, and they say that they're tolerant, but what I have found is that they're tolerant from a distance. Or some of them is like, if it gets a little too close to them, then it's like they want to call the cops, or you see the real racism come out. And that's what I saw. So I totally understand. And it's just to shame those people How dare you? By the way, Michigan is still a swing state. And if Democrats are trying to win Michigan in 2028, you still need Arab American and Muslim voters to win Michigan, because you can't win Michigan without Detroit and the Dearborn area. See, people just be saying things and they don't think. It's just ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, come 2028, they won't remember saying any of these things. They'll just be like, oh, I don't remember saying that. So remember this, guys, the way people have talked about this. And then that brings me to the Israel conversation here and how the media has responded. Interesting. This is coming from Joy. Listen to this.
Do you feel that as we're going forward, it's going to get bad? Like, it appears that what the new administration is going to do is going to put everything the Biden-Harris administration did to shame.
Yeah.
We're talking potential full-out annexation of the West Bank. Potentially, God knows what happens to those people in Gaza. We're already seeing famine. Do you think that the media has learned anything about the way we tell the story that will change the way this coming, whatever we want to call it, is covered?
No, I don't. I don't.
Nope.
I don't. And if it did, the results, like, this is the kind of thing where you invest now and then it shows up 10 years later.
I agree with Ta-Nehisi here, because the thing is like, no, and we've already seen that, right? We've seen the way that the media is covering the ceasefire that Israel just broke. We're seeing how they're covering it. They're blaming it again on Hamas. So no, the media is not going to. And it was interesting that question came from Joy, because her, all people, she should know better. She knows they're not going to change. She knows how it works. She worked in corporate media. It's like, it's weird. Like, you're asking him, but you literally worked for corporate media for years. You know they're not going to change, like, what they do, how they cover this particular topic, especially when it comes to Israel. So no, that's not going to change anything. They're not going to stop covering it the way they do. That's why, like, so many people start to watch independent media. But listen to what he says here about how the U.S. really does not care about them. Listen to this.
So I think it's kind of too late for that part, for any sort of immediate. It doesn't mean folks shouldn't do anything, but I think for the immediate, no. You see, the other complicated part about this is we are lying to ourselves in terms of America's relationship to the Jewish people of the world. We're lying. If any of you guys get a chance, I highly recommend Kim Burns' documentary, The U.S. and the Holocaust.
It's so good.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And damning.
And depressing.
Yes. But it is an exceptional work.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Kim Burns makes clear is that this is a country that never wanted Jewish people here.
They sure did.
And it's, and it goes back to, you know what I mean? He starts with the Chinese Exclusion Acts and then goes through eugenics.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like, didn't want to go to war, by the way. Didn't want to go to war and say, no, this is all we went and say, no, you didn't. You wanted no part of that.
No.
And it's debatable had we never been attacked, whether we would have been.
Correct.
It's you can easily imagine a world where the United States does nothing about the Holocaust.
Or if the people who attacked us weren't visibly foreign.
There it is too. And then there's that. But here's the most damning part. After the war, the United States does not say, you know what, you guys have suffered genocide, worst possible fate, 70% of European Jewry wiped out. We are, the land of immigrants. We will provide a haven for you. No, we pass laws to keep these people out.
That part. This is the part that you might not hear as often. That part. Yeah, the U.S. did that. They passed laws to keep them out. Sound familiar? And it's not just the U.S. I mean, let's be real. Germany didn't open up that invitation either. This is the part. This is why I keep telling people. It's not that they care so much about the people. They don't. They just care about U.S. interest. And to them, Israel is important to U.S. interest because of the resources that exist there. And they do not want the other countries to have a hold on those resources. They keep saying it's about the people. It's not about the people. They don't give a damn. All about money and what works for the U.S. government, what can be done for us, the relationship, the partnership, etc. That's really what this is about. And I've said this before. You don't see them rise up to defend any other group like this, do you? We'll get into that on Thursday. I'm gonna get into that a little bit more with that conversation between Megyn Kelly and Glenn Greenwald, because pay attention, guys. Pay attention to who people just rise up and stand up for. And I don't see them doing this for any other groups. Don't you think that's a little bit strange? Right. So it's all about the interests, U.S. interests and resources. Listen to this.
We put them in displaced persons camps. We put, I think it's MacArthur, over top of them, who writes that, the Jew is not even human, it's less than an animal. That's who we put over top of it. The survivors, this was United States action. I want to be very clear about this. We did that. So this notion that, we are somehow, this great friend, of Jewish folks. I mean, that's not what the record shows. What the record shows is there are many, many anti-Semites who are very comfortable with Jewish people being over there, inflicting themselves against other people, and not over here. And that's dark. That's really, really hard to sit with. I mean, I just, this is like Biden. He said this. He says, look, we all know, he's talking to a Jewish audience, you would not be safe anywhere if not for Israel. What? You're the president of the United States. Right. Are you saying you're not going to protect citizens of this country?
Remember what I told you? Biden kind of gave the game away himself when he said that if there wasn't an Israel, we would create one. Right, because they want something there for U.S. interests. So countries like Iran and Lebanon and Syria, and then obviously you have Gaza and you have the West Bank, like these countries and those areas there where Palestinians also are. That's a problem for the U.S. interests and the interest of the West and Israel. Right, they see them as a hurdle. You're in the way. You're preventing the expansion of Israel. And like I said, Antony Blinken and all these people, as much as they would get up there and say, oh, we need a state for the Palestinian people. It's an act. It's an act. They want Israel to expand just as Israel wants to expand. They don't want those countries there. They don't really care. I've been trying to tell people for the longest time, this is a game they've been playing with you. Just like when Biden was like, yeah, the war needs to stop. We need to get the hostages back. That was an act. They're all in on it. They all want the Palestinian people gone. And this has to go back to something else, what people are taught and what people believe. So we still have some education to do around this, I think, particularly in this country. Now, I do think it's very obvious that a lot of younger people have woken up and they're really aware to what the creation of Israel is really about. But that wasn't always the case. So there's a little bit more, I think, that needs to be done. But I will say that they don't want those countries. It's just like when they didn't want Gaddafi, when Gaddafi said, you know what, we're going to create our own systems here and we're going to remove our dependence on the West. So then they say, okay, we got to take out Gaddafi now. But the narrative that they gave to you is that he was killing his own people. Does that sound familiar? Haven't you heard them use that narrative before? They keep using it over and over and over, just with different leaders. It's crazy and sad. We're going a little bit more here.
Are you saying this state is not capable? And that comes off as some sort of people, I don't know, they hit it as support.
That's right, it's a complimentary thing.
It's not at all. It's not. It actually sounds a lot like what Lincoln said, by the way.
Yeah.
That's what it has. I go, what are you talking about? These people are citizens, you know? And so like,
especially coming from a Christian, because right. There's a narrative to that as well.
I mean, and so like, I just think, part of this is we lie, like we mask our support for Israel as a kind of, you know, anti-Semitism, and it's not. It's not, you know, it is a support of colonialism. It is a, you know, a kind of way of offloading deep and ancient prejudices in the West, deep and ancient racisms that go back to the origin of the West itself, and not dealing with them. You know what I mean? You got a situation in Germany where they are banning Jewish scholars because of what they said about Gaza. What?
Yeah. So that's why I've said over and over, it's not necessarily about the people, it's about Zionism and furthering the goal of Zionism, right? That's really what it's about. This is why you see them attack people like Katie Halper, Max Blumenthal, you know, Aaron Mate. You see them attack other Jewish people and they'll say they're not real Jewish people or something like that. Like the people are just insane. Like it's because they don't support the strategy. They don't support Zionism, right? So they'll just say, I keep telling you guys again. So here's the big thing. People will ask, why are they so afraid to speak out against Israel? Why are they so afraid to stand up to it? You know, why are people so fearful? Because the US government supports colonialism. Just leave political parties out of this for a second. Put political parties aside. Just in general, the US government supports colonialism. And the final stage of colonialism is the expansion of Israel. And they also support not lessening the white minority. People ask me this sometimes. Why don't people speak up this way for American descendants of slavery? Why don't they have the same type of energy or passion about protecting us and what we went through and, you know, what our ancestors went through, slavery, chattel slavery, like families ripped apart? I don't want to get into all the details because it can get very graphic, but I can tell you this much based on what I know and what I've researched. It's a lot more graphic than what you saw in your history textbooks, right? That's the whitewash version of slavery. If these voices come forward and start to have that same passion, if lobby interest groups start to have the same passion for the American descendants of slavery, if they start to rush legislation urgently, just like they do for Israel, if they did that for the American descendants of slavery, that would mean that we would be prioritized as the minority, which means that they would not be prioritized anymore. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? Why do you think Joy Reid, of all people, was one of the commentators that attacked American Descendants of Slavery organization? Why do you think she was one of the people? Remember, she attacked the ADOS group as Russian bots, is what she called them. It's an actual organization. She called them Russian bots. Now, she's saying some different things now because they got rid of her. And now she's being a little bit more vocal. But at the time, she was a part of that same propaganda. And I don't know how much Ta-Nehisi Coates realizes that, but she was a part of that same propaganda that she's criticizing during this conversation. And she doesn't admit to that, by the way. People need to understand, if they prioritize American descendants of slavery, that means that you are not prioritizing the colonialist project. I'm saying this to you as nicely as I can, because there's other ways that we can kind of take this. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying it to you as nicely as I can. If you are not prioritizing the white minority, it will start to lose the power that it has. The lobby interest groups will start to lose that power. Now, when you talk about American descendants of slavery, we don't have an AIPAC. We don't have a J Street. There's a Congressional Black Caucus, but they answer to Israel, not to us. You see what I'm saying? We don't have a PAC. We don't have any of those things. That is why they don't do anything for us. That is why it was leaked through Nancy Pelosi's email. During the George Floyd protest, the leak went out. Don't promise them anything. Do you get what I'm saying? This is a game. You put the political parties aside for a second here. It really don't matter when you think about this, when you think about American descendants of slavery, it really don't matter what the freaking party is, because neither one of them are really going to prioritize you, especially if it costs money. But they'll prioritize another group. The moment that they put us first, that means the white minority is no longer the priority. Pass that on to your friends. That's why they won't do it. And if we are now the priority, then this whole Israel expansion project just completely falls off the radar because it's not importance anymore. Pass this on to your friends. I'm trying to tell you guys, what's done in the dark comes to light. I hope everybody sees this now. I hope you see that a lot of the people that are rushing so quickly to call out protesters for anti-Semitism are very silent when Black people are beaten by the police, when Black people experience hate crimes in this country, or they blame the victim. I want you to pay attention to notice what people are doing. So like I said before, again, they all got the memo. Don't you dare prioritize us. And that includes liberal media too. They're all in on it. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.